Hey guys, this is Joel from the Fincastle Pokemon Gym. For those of you who watched the Garchomp video, you'll recall a comment about how if Pokemon makes a cool looking card, I'm playing it. Well, check out Gouging Fire EX, the ancient version of Entei. If you don't think that's cool, then all I can say is bless your little heart. Gouging Fire EX, much like Garchomp EX, presents so many options and ways to play it that I could do a series on it. But I'm going to focus on some playable, easy to afford, easy to build decks. To get there, however, I want to share with you the deck progression from pre-rotation to where I am currently. I know you might think pre-rotation, Gouging Fire didn't exist before then. And you're right, but the deck outline that I'm using did. It just centered around Entei V instead. This original version focused around a very simple concept. Just use Lifer to discard energy with its trade ability, use Magma Basin to reattach it, Radiant Serena to heal off the basin damage, and then Tool Jammer to limit the chances of anyone one-hitting your Entei V. You would then use Penny to pick up a damaged Entei, repeat the process, and just use Jet Energy to make him active. You can also see how the list had Judge and Roxanne to control your opponent's hand. Overall, it was a very solid list, a lot of fun to play, and then came Charizard EX, and the format shifted to where Entei's damage limitations and 230 HP was just too low. One quick thing to point out is that I adjust lists a card at a time while I play them, so if you see any difference from the video to the list I'm showing is the most current version. That said, this is the adjusted list, with Gouging Fire EX replacing Entei V. The most obvious difference is Gouging Fire hits for more, but costs 1 more energy to use as attack, which makes the Penny play a little harder to do. You can charge a Gouging Fire in 1 turn, but it takes Asada's Vitality, a Magma Basin attachment, and also attachment from your hand. So obviously you can't play Penny and Sada on the same turn, therefore you can't spam Penny like you could in the Entei version. But this deck is still solid. You still want to switch back and forth between 2 Gouging Fires or a Moltres. I do find myself using it more often than I thought when I was messing with the list, but he was actually added to make the 2-hit math work on 330 or 340 HP Pokemon using Blaze, Blitz, and then Heat Blast. I do often fall behind early with this list, but come back strong using Judge and Iono to limit my opponent's hand. I didn't include Roxanne, but it would also be solid in here. As you can see in this game wrapping up, I was able to charge a Moltres with Basin while my opponent dealt with the EXs on the previous turns. Here I could have used Nest Ball and then Seda and Basin to charge up another Gouging Fire, but I just took the finishing KO with the boss, which could have been anything off their bench. Incineroar was literally a beast to deal with all its HP, but because it could not one-hit me, I was able to outlast it. And moving on to a Raging Bolt match, I'd previously locked my opponent here into a bad hand with Judge. I used Penny to erase the damage from this Gouging Fire EX, sending the Moltres active. I reattached the charm to a clean Gouging Fire EX. I get an energy back into play with the Magma Basin, and then I attach for my turn to the Moltres and attack for 110. They just draw and pass. I wanted to show this segment to illustrate how to use all of the pieces. I put an energy into the discard pile to trade, get another charm so I have one on both of the Gouging Fire EX. I play Sada to attach to both. Then I'm going to retreat to get 2 more energy into the discard pile. Reattach one of those with Basin. Then I'm going to attach to my hand. I could have gone to either, just went to the active, same difference. Then I use Radiant Serena to clean up both EX. I take out a second Raging Bolt EX, and with only 2 prizes left and 2 Gouging Fire that can knock out anything on his side, he draws and then concedes. I know that's a quick flyover of that version, but I'm speeding along because I want to get to the final list to show you. Now I'm going to show you the list that led to the final list, so we're not quite there yet. This one is good. It's what I like to call a kitchen sink list because they've thrown everything, including the kitchen sink at this one. There's so much stuff here, obviously designed for going second, to try and get that first turn Blaze Blitz that you can block yourself from even getting a Gouging Fire EX into play. When I see this much bench space committed to a setup, I'm reminded of my Dialga V-Star Magnezone list that if you're not careful, you can overplay and block yourself. so you have to be careful of that in lists like this. So there's a quick look at that so you can see how I narrowed its focus a bit and made it a little easier to pilot with this final list. I love the concept of getting 2 Moltres down and getting that first turn 280 from Blaze Blitz. And with that in mind, I went with 4 Gouging Fire EX to try and make sure that you start with 1. And then you can choose whether you go with Squawkabilly, which is probably best at first, and then fill in as the game goes on with Radiant Greninja and or Mew EX, depending on your bench space. I kept an Entei V to give you a 5th attacker that is also fine to start with. And lastly, I added a baby Crydon. And here I heavily considered the Ancient Crydon EX, the Dragon type, for my Garchomp list, which just gives you a 6th attacker with which you may nuke your opponent early. But I swear about every 5th or 6th game I play online, I get that gosh dang Alakazam deck with Mimikyu, which blocks EXs, so I went with the baby because I hate that little dude. But for tournament play, I might look at the EX. Another change of note is that with mostly ancient attackers, Ancient Booster Energy Capsule, despite its long name, seems like a better fit than Charm. It gives you 60 more HP, taking you to 290, and that has been the difference in several games that I've played, sometimes surviving by only 10 HP and avoiding a knockout. The last 2 things to point out are first, the high count of Switch card, which replaces Radiant Serena from the previous list that I showed you, and also helps you reset Blaze Blitz when needed, as you can switch to a Mew EX and then just retreat the Mew, go right back to the same Gouging Fire with his attack reset. And the other is Energy Switch. Energy Switch gives you another way to charge that first turn attack and avoid basin damage, as you can attach to a Moltres with your Magma Basin and then switch the energy to wherever you need it. Also think the 4 Earthen Vessel here are important because they provide another way to get energy into the discard pile on top of Radiant Greninja and Ultra Ball. That just helps with consistency. I think everything else here is pretty self-explanatory, so let's get into some gameplay. I picked this match to illustrate the speed of the deck, but to make a broader point as well, and I'll get to that in a minute. And he ends with Insta Charge from Rotom V. With Entei active, I use Fleet-Footed to draw. I hit a Nest Ball. I play the Nest Ball to get Greninja so that I can draw and get energy in the discard pile for Magma Basin. I attached my booster capsule and then I play down my basin. I use Greninja. Off that I get an energy switch and a vessel. I use the vessel to get a 2nd energy into the discard pile and get a fire and a fighting energy in my hand. I use basin to attach to the Gouging Fire and then I attach from my hand. And with the switch cards, I could have done this to him or Entei, but I went with the Gouging Fire. I switched to Gouging Fire and use Heat Blast to knock out this Shuppet. And this gets me to my broader point. If you're losing a game, or you don't want to play a certain matchup, or you're angry you didn't get a trophy for logging onto the computer all by yourself, just concede the game. I sat here for 45 seconds waiting for his turn to time out. Don't be like that. Go act like a spoiled child on someone else's time. This happens a lot, which is unfortunate. I swear I'm thinking of screenshotting everybody that does this and then just publishing a monthly punk list. Probably shouldn't do that, but really starting to consider it. But anyway, once it timed out, I attached 1 energy and knocked out the Rotom and finished the game that should have been over 2 minutes ago. So the other night I was playing a few games with Logan, and for those of you who don't know, Logan's my son working on his graduate degree in Charlottesville, so we play online sometimes. But like me, he likes to just find the fun in Pokemon, so we play me with the Liper version of Gouging Fire, him, I have no idea. But as you can see, he gets 5 energies in play on his opening turn, and all I can say is, what is this? And then he comes in with a Weird Ear and completely blows my face off, which I thought was hilarious. So I just wanted to show that real quick. And to save you the suspense there, he just sweeps the rest of the game with that Weird Ear because it's one-shotting everything I have. So then we come back and we're going to play again, but I'm going to use the refined version of Gouging Fire EX, the final version I'm showing you. So Logan chose to go first. He got an okay start. I start with 2 Moltres. I draw a Squawkabilly. I'm going to go ahead and use Vessel to get an energy into the discard pile. Going to Ultra Ball both those energies. I'm trying to set up a good Sada turn. Use that Ultra Ball to get a Gouging Fire. Then I'm going to play Nest Ball. And we'll get Baby Crydon with that. Put the basin in play and then we'll use Squawkabilly. Just toss that Iono. We get an excellent hand. We get Sada, so we can attach 2 here to Gouging Fire and the baby. Get a Greninja down. Go ahead and use concealed cards. Get 1 more energy in the discard pile, so we should be good on that for a while. Get the capsule on there. I can attach from my hand. I could also attach with Basin and get this first turn 280, which is crazy, but I don't need to because all these guys are pretty low HP, so I'm just don't want to overplay here, especially knowing there's a weird ear out there somewhere with my name on it. So we'll take a knockout with Gouging Fire, hitting for 80, which is really solid. Gets a bunch of energy in play, doesn't make the weird ear play, hits me for 140 because it's only hitting in multiples of 20 with that basic. We'll use Gear, get Iono. I'm gonna conceal cards. Got a capsule for my baby Koraidon, which takes it up to 200 HP. Go ahead and get rid of this other Basin because we're pretty good shape on energy. We'll get 2 fires with that vessel. I'm gonna attach to the baby and switch and go ahead and let this baby Koraidon do a little work. Again, the low HP guys here kind of help me out a little bit. We're going to use Basin and go ahead and start getting some energy on that Moltres that we can either attack with or switch off of, whichever we need to as the game goes on. So get a nice little 2 prize card lead. It's not anything to get too excited about because this could swing very quickly. Get hit for 120 again. Draw another fire. We'll go ahead and use it with concealed cards. We'll bump his Stadium and get Basin back in play. Let's go ahead and get another energy on that Moltres. Again, we've got multiple energy switches, so we can use that whenever we need to. Koraidon's still alive, so we're going to let him keep on doing work. Get an energy switch there, which is nice. He evolves into the EX and bosses up my Squawkabilly. Gets the weird ear down, but doesn't have the switch and doesn't have enough energy for it to be any real threat, which is a relief. And you'll use Artisan here to get another potential B-Barrel in play. Take 2 prizes off of the Squawkabilly, and EX lets him move energy too. Got XP shares in play, so that kind of preserves all of the energy on his board, which again is frightening with that weird ear there, which we're going to try to address here as quickly as possible. And get another Gouging Fire down. Go ahead and conceal cards. Get a booster capsule, which we'll use to bump up that second Gouging Fire to 290 as well. We're just going to go ahead and switch one of the fire energies off of the Moltres, and let's get that weird ear and make it go far, far away. So we'll hit him for 280. Plenty for the knockout there. Leaves us in a good spot. I don't know how many weird ear he plays, but seems like we're safer now. Comes up with the EX one more time. Hits me from 170, and you can see the difference between the charm and the capsule there. That would have been a knockout with the charm. The capsule, I've got 10 more HP, and it's a very important 10 HP. So we will go ahead and use Gear to just get Lysander. You can't use our big attack, but you can still use your 2 energy attack off of Gouging Fire. So we'll catch another 60 HP Pokemon and knock it out for that last prize card. But thought that was a really fun match. It's a really unique idea. Probably going to be exploring that deck some after I get the list from him and talk with him about it a little bit more, so you may see that one coming up from my side here shortly. So I'll throw up the final list one more time. I hope I've properly illustrated that there are a lot of ways to play Gouging Fire EX. I think this version is very competitive, even more so with the Ancient Koraidon EX, but I think that choice is a personal preference and may just be dependent on what is played in your area. I'm very comfortable with this list and how it's playing at the moment. So give all of these versions a spin when you have a chance and see if one of them speaks to you. The biggest option to think about is one that is a conundrum for any deck that can hit 280, and that is, do you play Prime Catcher or do you go with the maximum belt A-Spec so you can hit that magical 330 damage? And that is a separate discussion for another day. As always, thank you guys for watching, Hit like and subscribe if you are enjoying what you see. Be not afraid. Later.